Let's talk about composition. Composition is just a fancy way of saying this is how you frame your shot. And to be honest, that's kind of what separates a decent photo or an okay photo from a great photo. When you're trying to figure out the composition for a shot, there's some things to remember and some basic principles that are really going to help you set up your shot.
Okay, so I want to touch on the composition basics that I discussed earlier. So first you'll notice I use foreground right here. Foreground adds more depth to the image. Then you'll notice I actually decided to do a center frame shot here, but what you can do is you can actually crop in a little bit and then you can move your subject here. I'm looking right, so I position myself on the left using these connecting quadrants here. And that's what you call a rule of thirds. You just move it to a third, either left or right. Okay? And then something else that I actually did here when I was framing this shot, when I shot it, you'll notice that the mountains back here are acting as leading lines. So just imagine this. I'm looking to the right, so I shot with the larger side of the mountains on the left, and they're getting smaller, forming that like leading line path in the frame. So this shot would actually also really work if you wanted to do that rule of thirds, and then that really highlights the leading lines, making your eyes follow to the right. And then something I also want to touch on is the proper use of headroom. So imagine if I shot this photo tight like this. So right here, it's a nice portrait, but it seems like you're smushed, right? Like you're kind of squished, and doesn't give you a lot of context. What you can do to fix that is when you're shooting, take into consideration on your camera, use your grid lines on your camera, and what I do is I position the subject in the middle, and then I always make sure there's an open square above them. And then I know when I get into post, when I'm editing, that I have enough room to work with, and there's always enough headroom, and it really opens up the frame. So your composition, just remember foreground, leading lines, whether or not you want a center frame or rule of thirds, and then make sure there's enough headroom. And you can, if you shoot with that composition, you can always make adjustments in post, and that's the most important part. It gives you flexibility in your editing.